Hey Amber, what's the difference between a coyote and a flea?
Well, I can think of lots of differences, but why don't you tell me?
One howls on the prairie and the other prowls on the hairy. Howdy, folks. I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. Amber's sitting over here scratching her head. She was like, I was laughing hilariously at a riddle in this super silly riddles book that my grandparents gave me a long time ago now, and I was like, what weird thing could I possibly say today to introduce the video? And I was like, I'll flip through this book and I found something, and I appreciate the humor, but clearly Amber was boggled and confused. Our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for pricing my custom cakes so high just to discourage people from asking me for cakes? I'm a hobbyist baker, but my full time job is engineering consulting. There's more money in the engineering side. When I want to pick up extra hours of work, I'm going to do engineering work. But I genuinely like making cakes for friends and families for events as a surprise. But I don't always. Sometimes I'm just too busy to make one. It's something that I do if I happen to have a free day before a get together. I like making them as a surprise because if I mess things up, there's no pressure to bring something. But as of recently, a bunch of people have been asking me if I can make cakes for different events. And I just started saying no because I don't have the time. Plus, I don't know if I could do the designs that other people do. I really just make whatever I'm feeling like what I kind of want to, and I just wing it. But people got so annoyed by saying stuff like, well, you made a cake for person A, and I'm not asking for anything that hard. uh, we don't respect your boundaries. We don't respect your boundaries, and we don't respect you, OP, for you're not one who make cakes. So I just started saying for special requests, I'm making cakes on a commission, and then I can send them my pricing structure if they're interested. My pricing structure is really structured around what it would cost to make it worth for me. To spend the day making a cake instead of spending it on my main job. So my rates are customer pays the cost of the ingredients, base hourly rate $150, minimum of 3 hours. If the deadline is under 48 hours, an additional rate is the 250. So, after I set my commission rate, most people will be like, never mind, when I mention the commission at all before I even get into prices, with only two exceptions. My Aunt Jess, who I'm not really close to, came up to me at Christmas and asked me if I could make a cake for her friend's party. I said I'm only doing commissions work right now, but if I could send my pricing breakdown. She said sure thing and then got really rude, saying that my cakes were nowhere near that good to charge that much, and that she could get better at a bakery. That's the point.
Yeah.
I said that she should go to the bakery then. They would have something nice. She got frustrated with me and said she didn't want a chain store cake and that there were some non chain bakers in a nearby city. She said I was missing the point and said that my prices were absurd and nobody would pay that. I said that was okay. I had enough business through my main job. Next, my cousin asked me if I could make a cake for her kid's birthday party, and I said I'm only taking commissions. She said that my prices were horrible for a kid's party. I said that kids would like a grocery store cake just as much. I'm sure the party would be great with whatever cake she got. She said that she didn't want a grocery store one, that she wanted one of my custom cakes. I said that seemed like overkill for a kid's party. She said nothing but the price was overkill and that I was taking advantage. Am I a jerk for selling my cakes for so much? Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
I have a really hard time faulting OP here. The reason why they're setting their cakes so high, and OP's kind of made this clear that it would have to be competitive with their main job, and these people don't seem to understand that OP is charging for her time. She isn't charging for the cake.
Exactly.
So if these people really want a cake, then they have to pay for her time, plain and
Right.
simple.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing is time is a valuable resource, and different people, value their time at different rates. OP has a job that she likes well enough and pays well enough, and so to get her to not do her main job, you'd have to compensate, like like you were saying. And so I think that's perfectly reasonable. Like, there's no reason why you should have to like
drop everything to make free cakes for people.
Yeah.
And like people, like I know that they're like, oh well, you're taking advantage of people if your pricing structure, right? But here's the thing: is people were taking advantage of OP's time.
Yeah, well, and that's really what it is like, and they won't take no for an answer, it sounds like. And so this was OP's like way of turning them down without turning them down.
Yeah.
And I think that's perfectly reasonable. Like, it's clear that the people don't respect OP's time and energy that
Hmm.
would go into these cakes. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like if you want to spend, $1,000 on a cake, then by all means, come to me and I'll make a cake for you for $1,000. But I mean, and that of course, they're gonna find a cake that's cheaper. OP isn't doing this for them. OP is doing it for themselves.
exactly. Our next story is, am I the jerk for publicly humiliating my ex-boyfriend? Okay, so here's a little bit of background information. I'm a 28-year-old female and I have been dating my ex, a 28-year-old male, for 3 years. He's amazing, one of the kindest people on this planet, and we've been pretty happy together ish. I'm a huge workaholic, and a month or two ago he approached me and explained he felt like I wasn't making time for him and was too obsessed with work. Okay, well, fine. Two other people had told me I was too obsessed with work, and it was honestly kind of logical. I apologized and started making more time for him. Even though he's amazing, I've felt awful this last month. Work is quite literally my whole life, and I have a job I've been working towards since I was 14, and I love it. I've always planned to sacrifice a bit of work for family because that's important to me. However, the more time I spent with him this last month, the more I felt it wasn't worth it, if that makes any sense. I love him dearly, but he's not the one. He's not the person I'd give this stuff up for, and as more time passed, I realized it more and more, no matter how much I tried to tell myself he was great. 2 days ago, I finally decided that this relationship was going nowhere and decided to break up with him. I asked him if we could talk. I had something important to say, but the doorbell rang, and when I opened it, I found two of my best friends for a surprise visit.
Surprise.
I was in so much shock and was also mildly upset because I really couldn't break up with him in front of my best friends. Anyway, long story short, he asked if we could continue the convo later, and I agreed, mentally panicking. The next thing I know, we're at the fair.
Oh no.
We actually went on our first date at that fair, and this whole setup of the night made me panic that he was going to propose. What do I know? He does propose. Some other friends of ours and his sister and her family is there, and I'm literally panicking. The guy is on one knee, and I want to break up. I quickly go, I'm sorry, but no, and awkwardly shuffle away. We talked about getting married once or twice, like months ago, not at all recently, and even when we did talk about it, I think I said I'd be open to getting married in a year or so. I don't know, but anyway. His friends called me up and called me a jerk for rejecting him in front of his friends and fam and a bunch of other people, and told me I could have accepted it there and dumped him later on. I told him that his idea was garbage and I would never do that. He called me a jerk again, and my ex is refusing to talk to me. Am I the jerk for humiliating him?
So, my feeling on public proposals like this is that if you're not willing to take the humiliation of a public no, then you're not ready to take the public yes either, right?
Right. Like, it's one thing if you and your partner have, like, discussed a public proposal and you both are 100% on board and you know this is the right
Yeah,
timeline.
or that they absolutely want a public proposal, that they're always hinting about how, oh, I would love it if somebody proposed to me someday in this big showy way.
Yeah, so, like, you have to know, like, you really have to know your partner. Because sometimes these public proposals become kind of like almost bullying. Like, they're trying to, like, oh, well, you're in front of a bunch of people, so you can't say no. That's kind of what this feels like.
Yeah,
And so,
it's a little coercive sometimes.
yeah,
It can be. Some
um,
people use it as like
as a
a coercive
coercion
way.
tactic. And so, because of course, if someone turns someone down in public, everyone's like, how could you do
How
that?
could
You
you
broke their
possibly
heart.
break their heart in front of everyone?
So, like, I agree that OP's not in the wrong. Like, you're not obligated to accept this guy's proposal, and he should have, like, if you haven't said you wanted a public proposal and you wanted it soon, like, he probably, like, it has to be a risk he's willing to take.
Public proposals are a lot like surprise pets and rats in your house.
I mean, not necessarily. If you know your partner's on board with it,
Yeah, no. I know.
like,
I mean, surprise public proposals.
yeah.
Like, ones that are out of the left field, out of the blue. So I
Yeah.
don't mean all of them. I mean, I was just being funny from yesterday.
Yes. Well, I know you are, but I've seen a lot of very cute public
Yes, there are
proposals.
very cute public
My
proposals.
favorites are when like the couple, like one pulls out the ring and the other one's like, wait, and then they pull out their ring. Like those are the best. Like they're both planning at the same day.
Yeah, that is really good. That is really nice. Uh, I see you have an ace. I too have an ace up my sleeve. Well, 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 what do you know? It's time for tea. Amber grabs her tea. I grab my tea. Can you make a guess as to what kind of tea we have? If you guessed mint tea, then you get 5 Brian bucks. I'll give you 5 Brian bucks. Just tell me you guessed it, and I'll give you 5 Brian bucks. This is the honor system here. If you tell me it, I'll believe you, and I'll award you 5 Brian bucks. So yeah, yesterday Mary had hot chocolate.
That's a great choice.
Yeah, it's probably preferable to Amber over Mary's usual coffee, but I prefer the coffee over hot chocolate.
Yeah, I am not a coffee person, so hot chocolate is much more my speed.
Yeah. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to give back a book to the owner sold by mistake after I purchased it? I'm a 29-year-old female and I'm an avid buyer of sales and being part of different social media where people sell used items. An old adage is one man's junk is another person's treasure. A lady is also a friend who placed 20 books for sale for $5. I immediately replied to the post to purchase the book, and I picked up the books from my friend for $5. Well, last night I received a call from the lady that she accidentally sold her husband's first edition of The Grapes of Wrath by John. I do know how to say John Steinbeck's name, by the way, and it was a first edition. She tells me that her husband is livid and is creating a marital disaster with their marriage. I tell her that I will look into the situation and get back to her with an answer. So this person's like, "Oh, I know you just sold me this first edition of a book for $5, but a very rare book, but I'll have to think about this." Like,
Yeah.
clearly this was a mistake. It wasn't like you don't sell someone a first edition of a book for $5. I explained the situation to my parents, and they said, under no circumstance do I return the book. Your parents are jerks.
Yeah, they are.
It was ethically and morally mine.
No.
So let me get this straight. You have a friend who sold you a bunch of books for $5, and now you want to steal a book from them that they didn't mean to sell to you. And you have no obligation to return it. My husband disagreed with my parents and said it was an honest mistake and you will lose your friendship over $1,000 book accidentally sold. Yeah, you think? Listen to your husband. I subsequently took my parents' advice and kept the book, which was a mistake, OP, and she kept the $5. I think you might have a lawsuit on your hands, OP. Am I the jerk for not returning the book and losing the friendship? She subsequently threw me off her WhatsApp group of items people are selling and can no longer buy on that platform.
Yeah, I think OP is definitely in the wrong here. Like, it's clearly was a mistake. She had a batch of 20 books. It
Yeah,
sounded like maybe she was doing some cleaning or
yeah,
something. And she either didn't recognize that this book was important to her husband or just got into the pile. First of all, this was not her book to sell, it was her
yeah.
husband's. So it was like likely a mistake. You know, she just saw this book and thought no one used it, no one needed it, but it's her husband's property. So she sold
Yeah,
someone else's property accidentally.
yeah.
You are 100% like morally obligated in that situation to return it.
Oh, for sure. And the thing is, like, if it would be a slightly different situation if the person they had bought this from had been like featuring a first edition of
Right.
this particular book, right?
If they had advertised it that way, yeah. But this
Yeah,
was reads like I'm cleaning out my house. Here are 20 because 20 books for $5 is a steal.
yeah. It's a
You
steal.
know.
It's just one of those things where you're trying to literally get rid of the books, right?
Yeah.
And so this is clearly an accident, and I think that OP is really, really taking advantage of this. And honestly, I'm pretty sure that there may even be some kind of legal ramifications that the friend can take against this because I don't know, like I'm pretty sure that there may be a good lawyer might be able to argue
Yeah,
something
I don't
here.
have any legal advice, but I do know if something is like sold without your consent, you probably can file a police report, and
Mm-hmm.
then the person can be in trouble for possessing stolen goods.
Yeah. So I would, if I was OP's friend, I would consider trying to file a police report about this, and that's just what you might have to do, you know. So I don't know. Don't steal people's stuff.
Yeah,
Is that really need to be said? Like, don't steal people's stuff.
but her parents said.
But her parents said it was perfectly fine to steal.
Our next letter is: Am I the jerk for making a joke about my pregnant sister in law, or is my brother overreacting? I'm a 32-year-old male and I'm child free. I always thought my little brother would be too, but he actually really likes kids. I always thought my sister in law must be behind him feeling like that, but he says he's the one who really wants them. But I don't know if I believe that
Horrors
honestly.
of horrors.
She's currently pregnant with their second child and they already have a 1 year old. They were over to celebrate our dad's birthday, and my mom told sister in law she was sure she was exhausted and to sit down and rest and not help with the dishes. I fake pouted and jokingly asked why she offered the broodmare rest, but not her son who's been
Oh,
helping her all day.
oh, gross, OP.
I expected my mom to laugh and sort of swat my shoulder like she usually would, but she was
I
silent.
wonder why. I wonder why your own mother, who had at least 2 children, would be silent in this situation.
Yeah.
What about the situation would make your own mother be quiet? I don't know.
My brother asked me WTF I just said about his wife. I laughed it off and said to take it easy. It was just
It's
a
just a
joke.
joke, man.
He demanded I explain what was funny about calling his wife a broodmare. By that point, I was irritated and said they're the ones who thought popping out kids close together was a smart idea, and at this point, that's what she essentially was.
Oh, at this point, yeah.
He called me a disgusting, immature jerk for how I spoke about his wife. My dad told me to leave, and my mom refused to answer any calls or texts other than once to tell me she was disappointed in me. I really thought my family was just overreacting, but now several of my friends are saying I was being a jerk to my sister in law, and that there was no reason for me to say that. I really was just kidding, though.
Were you? Were you though? You just said that was basically what she was. This wasn't a joke.
No. Am I really the jerk just because my joke fell flat?
I love how they like double down on their comment about how like, oh yeah, but this is basically what she is. I'm just joking, but this is really what she is.
Yes. So I think it's clear that OP is 100% in the jerk in this situation. Like,
Really, I mean, like, I asked my parent, I asked my friends, I asked my parents. My parents say I'm a jerk. My friends say I'm a jerk. My brother says I'm a jerk. Everyone is saying that I'm a jerk, but I don't think I am. What do you think, Reddit? Do you think I'm a jerk?
surprise, surprise. Reddit thinks so too. Like, and I think his brother like asking why is this funny is the that's the way to go. When someone says a joke that's not really a joke, like
Yeah.
asking, "Oh, what's funny?" is like the way to go, and like that will hopefully help them see why it's wrong. In this case, he didn't see what was wrong. He just doubled down and decided, "Oh yeah, comparing my sister-in-law to a horse used for breeding is like that's just such a disgusting comparison to make."
Yeah, well, and then like the brother giving asking him this question also gave him an out, right?
Right, it gave him
And
time to think about it, to apologize.
and he could have just been like, "Oh, you know what? I was meaning it to be funny. It sounded funny in my head, and I realized that I am not a funny person."
Yeah. So he still would have been a little bit of a jerk for making the joke in the first place, but he could have fixed things.
Like a joke is what I just told at the beginning of this video with
Yes.
this book. That's this upside down book. That was a joke. This was not a joke.
Yeah, this is a thinly veiled jab at people who are making the choice to have children.
Yeah.
Like, and I also like how he sees it as like a personal affront that his brother is not also child free. It seems like he just assumed that his brother wouldn't want kids,
Yeah.
and then his brother wants kids, and he sees this as like, well, clearly his wife has behind it because my brother wouldn't want kids. It's
Yeah.
like, this isn't like,
And I know this for a fact because I can read his mind.
yes, like,
I have hooked my brain up to his and I have seen his desire to not have kids. She brainwashed him.
Yes, like other people's reproductive choices are not an indictment on your own. Like, I understand you don't want kids, OP. That's fine. It's probably a good thing you don't have
Yeah.
kids. But,
They
like,
would be going around telling very bad jokes
yeah,
that
that are not
that are
jokes.
not jokes at all.
But there's also nothing wrong with wanting kids and having kids. And so, like, you just have to accept that your brother and his wife have a different life than you do and have different goals for their life.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and thanks to Amber for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior. What did you do today?
I worked all day long. What did you do today?
I didn't get a lot of writing in, but I finally got the book in. My The Love Hypothesis, the one I ordered from Once Upon a Book Club, that came in on Monday, and I finally started reading it today, and it's super cute.
Yeah.
So I've been reading. I read mostly horror and and thrillers and stuff, and so it's like nice to have a book where nobody's dying for a few. So far, no deaths yet,
So far.
except maybe the lab rats. I don't know if they have very good fates.
Probably not. Let us know if you are reading any books, even if they're super silly riddle books. So, thanks so much for watching. Remember that this Friday at 6 p.m. The
Eastern time.
Eastern time, the 28th, we will be doing a live stream of reading some Reddit. So we hope you enjoy that and join us there. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.